concrete. Tried to get away, but I'm too deep. Like a lunatic, my mind.
Hey, look, menu pog.
Rooms.
This is a yodel,
Is
surely,
it
right?
even a person?
It has to be like an animal or something.
Oh, drawing a blank.
I have absolutely no idea what this is, even though I have the answer.
Lilia.
Yes.
Ah, wait. Why is
Oh,
there a
it's because
person
of
lying on the
that.
side?
That's what threw us off so much.
It's someone
Yeah.
getting slept. Is it just random, or is it? And that will always be the day we found out that Kitty had a knee fetish. Now, look, let's move on. How else are you going to guess that? Who else is going to know that that's Lilia from the image? You
I
saw
think that
its
was the
knee.
toes. I think it was more the toes, Mac. The little
And they
many
popped out and
champions
popped
have
up. It was
fluffy
literally
hooves.
a hairy knee.
I mean,
It was
it's all hairy.
it was
Yeah,
a-
there's
it
like
was
one
deer
champion
legs.
with a hairy knee.
Insane. Now, look, we can hear more from that, more about that from Kitty later. But we're going to talk about the game. It's Direwolves, it's Gravitas, and it's going to be a scorcher. Both the two games we've seen so far have been extremely one-sided. But jumping on into this one, I think it's going to be a much closer affair. So let's talk about Direwolves first. And Rusty, tell me why Kiyosei is going to win it for him today.
Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of the Direwolves play does revolve around Kiyosei. He's been an absolute star of the show for them. They definitely have had a lot of weird drafting, but he always feels like the one point of consistency, not necessarily through the champions that he's picking, but through the skill with which he plays the game. The rest of the team, you know, you've seen some changes in the support role. You saw one of the supports playing jungle as an emergency sub once. You've seen some craziness from Zoranus as well. So we always look at that like real bastion in mid of Kiyosei, and with Gudo, I will say, in the flanks, making it work and locking it down for the Wolves.
And look, to make things work, you need knees. To kick, you need knees. So, Direwolves, they've sent in a sick bit of content to kick it with one of their content creators.
Hi guys, Kahu here and welcome to the very first episode of Kicking It with Kahu. This series is all about professional esports. We'll find out more about a person behind a gamer tag.
A question, who was your starting Pokemon?
Oh no. I'm trying to remember. Oh, what's the, I think, it's like the turtle one. What's this called? Oh, Turtwig. There we go. Yes.
Anyway, now that we have the most important part out of the way, which is what is your preferred starter?
The shame.
I feel so old. I feel so old when he says the turtle one.
The turtle, that could be
And
Squirtle.
And it wasn't Squirtle. I'm like, Brad,
Yep.
did you not play Red and Blue? And look, Zoranus, he seems pretty young, so the answer's probably no. He was probably not born when they came out. Like, honestly, might not have been.
Yeah,
He might have not even.
He's
Let's
12.
not get into that conversation. Anyway, let's talk about the other team in the conversation here, and that's Gravitas. So they have been looking good, Jake. And tell me, what has been the strongest thing you've seen from them?
Because remember, I told you I was excited about this roster coming in today. I told you I was excited about this matchup.
Yeah.
That's because of Dajung in the mid lane. I think Dajung has, in the past couple of series, the Silas game especially, where he put on a clinic, has been the strongest element. And when I was talking to Rusty, getting more deeper insight before today, Rusty reminded me of one really important fact, and that's the fact that Dajung has no one behind his role. This is the only mid laner for Gravitas. And it feels like with that experience he's getting in the league, he is turning into a star in his own right. I think one to watch for the coming years, because this mid laner for me right now is in the upper echelon of the league.
He certainly is. And look, going head to head, I just want to see exactly what Gravitas have improved on, because last time both these teams went head to head, it was when we got to see that Zeri in the top lane, and Zoranus did so much damn work there, didn't he, Rusty?
Yeah, I mean, last time we saw these teams compete, it was also Kiyosei just quietly having a million kills on the Syndra. So this, I think, was the first time we saw Kiyosei's Syndra. One of two, and my man's was going crazy with it and continued to from this point onwards. And showed, you know, that not every mid laner is a Corki Victor only player. We've still got some Syndras, we've still got some Orianna players in the league, just few and far between perhaps. So Zoranus, yeah, the big Zeri showy, but for me, my eyes are always locked towards the 13-0 Syndra performance versus Gravitas.
Yeah, a ridiculous performance. Those control mages, Kiyosei is a stunner with them. And that was also the bounce back, because you got to remember the day before was when they tried to pull out that Smite Janna top. things didn't go too well. So, you know, they were looking to make a statement, and they certainly did. And let's see if that happens again today. Look, head-to-head, Goodo and Nobody. Let's have a look at how they're going in the jungle. Goodo has been starting to perform pretty damn well, but Nobody, of course, role-swapping from top into the jungle. He's been having a relatively good affair. Yesterday, not as good as the day before, but that first day we saw him in the jungle, Jake, he popped off.
Yeah, he really did. And again, like for a team that's 2-12, like seeing these individual performances is really exciting. We were also talking about this before and looking at who was the biggest standout. Rusty, you really wanted to talk about jungle. And I think as well, especially from Goodo's side, is a really strong case for this guy with his leadership. And straight away, like, okay, a 2-12 team versus a team that's in the middle of the pack. Of course, the damage to objectives is going to be pretty low from Nobody. Rusty, they never get the chance to do objectives.
Yeah, look, the stats aren't going to reflect too positively for the side of Nobody, but the one big thing I want to talk about for both junglers is, in terms of play style, the last game and the last two for Gravitas that we've seen, it feels very aggressive. Goodo has kind of turned, is very slow, methodical, almost only-esque, right, in the way that he tends to run around the jungle, almost identical champion pool, amusingly enough. But last game, he was an alcove gamer, just absolute hero sitting in alcoves, finding angles 24/7. It was wild, the amount of retrospection he had going on. Nobody was sacrificing jungle clear to get ganks off in mid lane, you know, recognizing win conditions for his team. Makes sense you go to the Dajung side of the map, and while it was a loss, it still showed a lot of promise in my mind where he was actually getting a couple of big brain ganks off. And it feels like that is almost the fire starter, you know? It could be a major catalyst for Gravitas actually getting some dubs on the board, is being a bit crazy, being a bit aggressive and getting leads.
Well, someone that's crazy, someone that's aggressive is Kitty. And look, you don't want to mess with her, not on the best day. And look, I might have done that before. So, Kitty, anything to say about that reveal we had yesterday?
I need to clear my name first of all, Mac. I do not have a knee fetish. I am just extremely good at guessing champion splash arts, so please don't misunderstand everyone. But someone who is also really good at guessing champion splash arts is Goodo. So let's bring him in for our interview. So Goodo, good evening. You know, you guys are going against, I believe I'm having a brain fart. But how are you feeling going to tonight's game? I'm too pissed, I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. Like, very excited because like this is the last week of this Super Week, and like everyone on our team like just want to get like win because like this is the last week of the Super Week. So yeah.
And we're going to talk about how you guys are bringing Shinky back onto the roster. Constantly changing supports is a really big issue for the ADC because you have to adapt to both supports' playstyle. But how does the team adapt to this?
It's like going fine because like even though we swapping like support keeps like over and over, like the Shinky and Bulldogs like both are too like suitable for team. So it's like no matter who's gonna play, like we are just like very confident on our team. So like no matter who's on the roster, I think we're just being confident on our team. Yes, that's it.
And let's talk about draft last night. So we saw Dials actually respond to the first pick Jinx from Chiefs with a Ziggs bot lane. So you guys gave the Ziggs to Frost. Ziggs traditionally being known as the weak side APC for team comps, with the final spot of playoffs being so competitive with these teams, you know, just one win away sometimes. Why the sudden change in strategy? And when you already have such a... I'm okay, but hopefully you're okay as well. Why do you guys keep changing your strategy when you already have such an established, clear identity?
No, I get it. Like obviously, like end of the day is like all about the playoff. Like general season is like not important. Like obviously it's important, but like not just compared to like playoffs. Like before the playoffs, we just want to try as much as like we can, which is like smite top, like weak side bot, jigs, like Soraka mid, like that. So like which is like one bot combo as well. So maybe like we just want to try like our best, like which side's like our best, and we just it's weird, but like I call that like limit test. So we just want to extend our limit. Yes.
Well, let me tell you here, Dials is definitely one of the teams to watch out for. I love watching your drafts. It's always so exciting. Well, best of luck, Goodo, and see you on the other side.
Thank you.
Goodo, definitely on the money with that one. He said that the regular season is not impotent, and I have to agree. It's been a whole lot of action, a whole lot of entertainment. Now, Dare fan vote time. Let's jump on into that one.
Yeah,
my goal
just
today is
help
just to ruin
yourself.
every single one of you, and not like I already did it to Kitty. She went into the interview.
You ruined her reputation.
I'm so mad. I'm so mad. Ooh.
I'm sorry. I'm having a great time today, though, guys, and I'm sure you guys at home are having a great time. Taking part in this Dare fan vote as well. Make sure you get your Twitch points in. Twitch predictions up there, probably open right now. Make sure you get them in for the team that you think is gonna win. Now, let's have a look at our predictions as well, because I think this is where things could get spicy. Let's see where we've gone with it. Ooh, Kitty with Direwolves. Rusty there as well. Okay, Kitty, talk to me about that one.
So with Goodo and Kyose still remaining on the roster, they will definitely be the point to watch. Shinky, however, only playing Enchanters, I believe, 1 Tahm Kench game, 3 Enchanter games. They might pick out the Enchanter duo for Frost again. It's not going to be surprising. Going into Gravitas, I don't think they have an answer to that just yet. So I'm going to go with Dial's win tonight.
Okay, now I've given you an hour, Skimsterics, to work on that accent. I know you've probably been busy doing other things like casting games, but, talk to me about Gravitas here.
Yeah, the best thing here, as I try and bring out the accent, it's already garbage. I try. I'm sorry.
To the bloody UK, brother. What's
but he's, as Rusty said, he's a
Kiwi.
trifecta.
Yeah, he's got a tribrid accent.
And it's hard.
He's a British Kiwi.
Dude,
I think if you're trying to do a Kiwi accent, you have to start with chur, bro, and it gets you into the...
But how do you incorporate the English? I don't know.
Chur, bruv.
I don't.
Chur, bruv.
Mac, Najug, that's my one and only thing. He might not be, look, he's growing into a great mid laner of the league. I'm looking at mid laners across the board. Me saying he's in the upper echelon, of course, it's not going to be true with the talent we have, but he is still growing, and I honestly think they can find wins from anyone, so within reason.
Look, I can give you another hour to work on that accent again. Maybe
no.
you'll figure it out by the last
It'll
game
get
of the
worse.
day, but it's champ select time. Jumping on in. It's Direwolves, it's Gravitas. Who's going to take that dub?
Great question, Matt. Great question. Gravitas 2-12 in the league right now. Direwolves need this win desperately. They are literally the benchmark in the league for teams like Kanga Esports, Mammoth as well. Even Gravitas, if they can pull up the win as well. If Gravitas find the win, Peace will secure themselves a playoff berth. So a very big match in many different regards. We go on to pick and ban. Very different ban phase from what we've seen today, Rusty. We get things like the Caitlyn on blue side, the Volley Bear, the Trundle, double jungle ban against nobody.
Yeah, it's funny because at the same time, like the Trundle ban, I get it. Trundle has been picked by Gravitas almost exclusively the past couple of weeks. Volibear is a champion that Goodo plays, so I feel like this is just, they've done their research into nobody in solo queue. He's maybe got 2 champions and they've said, we are removing these. And if these 2 aren't available, what will he even play? Is the question that we will now have to ask. Jinx, Caitlyn, Zeri being banned. I think Caitlyn last pick ban kind of ruined the stats on Caitlyn almost completely because it just wasn't there. This time around, I feel like we've gone back down the normal benchmark on like what is a normal ADC in order of best to worst. And we've ended with Aphelios and Jhin, which is back to like, I guess, standard.
Yeah, it is. I mean, again, coming from LPL, like we really don't see much Jhin anymore. We've even seen a little bit more Samira at that point as well. So we get something that has the utility in the AD carry role. While for Gravitas, you're questioning jungle picks. I wonder if they're going to go for support or the jungle here. Get something nice and early, and that would be a potential flex, Rusty? Question mark?
I don't know if it'll be a flex. Like in my mind, it always is if Chippies exists in a roster, but he's not with Gravitas. So we'll see. We'll see. The thing about Jhin and Olaf together, Hysterics, is that screams Yuumi and Lulu and Karma, right, as a composition. There's no Siva because the Jin's locked in, but you've seen Jhin Yuumi, you know that Yuumi Olaf works, so that's what I'm looking at, and I feel like you have to pick a third. So eyes peeled for Gravitas with their 3rd pick. They have revealed, presumably, that jungle role. Direwolves on the other side, I feel like you've just got so many options here, right? Just stock standard. Aphelios Thresh, just pick your Xin Zhao. You could pick your Gwen if you wanted as well. You know your matchup is an Olaf, however, so you'd expect the jungle role to be secured above all else. And Lee Sin has often been seen into Olaf.
So standard comes through in the end. Direwolves, no expectations coming through. Apart from maybe the solo lanes being a little bit more wacky, their drafts have been a lot of fun to watch, especially from Zoranus up in that top side. We can talk about that shortly as Gravitas. The question is how they round it out with the bottom lane. In the 2v2, Jhin, Nautilus here against Aphelios Thresh. So we do get some strength within the lane.
Yeah, Nautilus can handle the Thresh. I feel like both supports are pretty happy with each other. When it comes to like hook supremacy, usually you would have like Blitz, Nautilus, Thresh, and then you kind of go down that list in that order. But Thresh's Flay handles Nautilus fine in laning phase, so really it's just null and void. Both will just be farming. It's about if someone can make more creative or better plays in the 2v2. So there's not going to be a lot to look forward to too much down there so far. Junglers getting involved will make it exciting, however, as Nautilus can be freed from his lane if it's a Jhin that he's playing with. Make some plays with Olaf roaming around the map.
And maybe with mid as well. I'm curious as to what it's going to be. We've already seen a Rise come through today, not touched. With Lissandra, does Lissandra show like we're getting a LeBlanc through?
Yeah.
Usually that'll be the counter lane.
I mean, you're right. That's usually the next in line, right? We know that Kyosei is just a really good Lissandra player.
Yep.
But I don't feel like Lissandra is an order of priority in terms of your bans. I mean, Kyosei's got a million champions that he'll play in mid. And anything currently works, right? You can still consider the Orianna with the Lee Sin. Right now, there's only really one champion that's going to be locking you down. We will see, though. Tryndamere is also against Kyosei, and Syndra already banned from him. So it's funny because you're looking at the 4 or 5 bans of Direwolves, and I think it's clear that Kyosei is like, I don't actually care. Like, I'm going to continue to ban mid champions if you do. We'll meet in the middle, no issue.
But let's come back to a point you were talking about. You mentioned things like the Yuumi, the Karma, the Lulu. Seraphine fits a similar role and can go into the mid lane as we've seen.
Yeah, I think this would be the second, if it was locked in, it'd be the second Seraphine. So yeah, movement speed thrown out the window. Olaf not being comboed with anything right now, unless you're getting like a mage top lane that has movement speed. It's going to be a very self-sufficient nobody champ pool. This to me does not scream rehearsed. This to me does feel much more like Trundle Volibear were banned and he just defaulted to the next champion he could play. And guess what you banned counters for? Am I right?
Yep. Hello, LeBlanc. Now, I guess the question is, will Dajung be okay with the Ahri matchup? Rusty, I gotta ask you a bit of questions about that. Haven't experienced that matchup in a very long time.
Yeah, I actually don't mind being the Ahri in the matchup. I would say that is LeBlanc favored until the Ahri outplays. But the thing with this matchup, and we can talk about it more when we get into game, is it's predictable in the way that damage is dealt. So Ahri can play properly and kind of avoid being all-in killed at every moment if they play it correctly. But we'll talk about that as we get into the game because we've still got a draft to finish here first. And I like what Direwolves have. It just makes sense, right? It's a pick composition with a strong isolated top lane matchup and an Aphelios that can kind of do it all.
Where Gravitas have just enabled their range. Jhin, Jace, we now have Ahri with positioning and an Olaf to run you down. How does that work?
I still feel like the Olaf is the piece that makes the least amount of sense to me because Nautilus can peel, Jace can be aggressive but often sits back and wants to throw spells. So unless this is like literally a Locket Redemption Olaf, which we haven't seen in a very long time, I think it was LCK a few years ago, then I suspect that we will see a 10-death Olaf. The question is how many kills and assists does he have with that? That's just kind of how the fights will play. Like, he's going to have to die, right?
Yeah, the optimism a little bit lower Gravitas, but you're being realistic, and I like this because, you know, we talked about how it could partner up. For Gravitas, the moving parts go in different directions. And I think the most important part to me, you've already told me that Direwolves are playing this kind of pick composition in just pure scaling as well. We know that Jace does fine against comps that don't really have a front line, but we have the Bruiser in the Lee Sin. We got a Graves that'll probably be going Hullbreaker, a Thresh that'll be semi-tanky towards 20-25 minutes. So it does feel like the bit of a timer here on Gravitas, if I'm correct in saying, Rusty.
Yeah, I think that's mostly true. One advantage the Tyrant will have is that only Zoranus will have a lot of armor, right? Like the Bruiser builds don't have a crazy amount of actual resistances in them, just a lot of health. And I do think there is still going to be a decent amount of damage that he could put down. Dajung being the sole AP carry there as well can maximize his AP output with the Luden's build. So I think their scaling is okay. And again, if you're looking for how they scale compared to Direwolves are so pick-centric that you're looking at objective-based fights, and I will, all the way back to the beginning, look at what Nobody does with his team for objectives, because an early Drake could do wonders for them, scaling the game out, getting a couple items on their carries and playing accordingly.
You talked about 10 deaths, how many kills accompany with it? Well, the question now up there is Nobody on the Olaf has got a lot of thinking to do. For Gravitas versus Direwolves, what's on the line for the bottom place team is keeping their playoff dreams alive, but importantly enough, if they find a win here, Peace will be thanking them as they'll be the second team, that's Peace, to lock in a playoff berth. But Direwolves, they're still middle of the pack, 6 and 8. They're a team that need to start getting wins on the board, especially after Pentanet just destroyed Kanga in the previous game. Order are getting better and better as well. Peace, we already mentioned, destroyed at the start of tonight. All these teams moving up, and Direwolves don't want to be left behind as we're about to end Summoner's Rift. Kyose on LeBlanc. It's kind of exciting, though, because we were talking about mid laners, Dajung being a star for me for Gravitas. Kyose has been a star as well. These mid laners going up in what seems to be a very volatile matchup.
Without a doubt, Kyose is the man to watch for the side of Direwolves. Very excited to see what he can get done.
As I hear, we are going to go over to Poltron to get his 2 cents. And Poltron, as I welcome you in, I just wanted a quick question about the draft coming through, because Direwolves we know, is a very, I'd say, fun drafting team. Give me a walkthrough and how you've kind of adapted that through the split.
Well, for sure, I'd say out of all the LCO teams, Direwolves probably have had the most interesting draft so far. All our players have very different opinions on the game, but we want to encourage their opinions, entertain it, try and see if it's good or bad. I don't think our, let's just say, spicy drafts so far have been too great. I think a stock standing game is actually the way we play best and the way we will secure our playoff spot.
Well, I was going to ask you a little bit about that, because you guys are kind of middle of the pack. What are you looking to achieve in this third round robin? Like, your kind of goals coming through, what are your realistic expectations for where you can lock yourself in?
I think for our playoffs position would be 3rd place, trying to take down Order and Pentanet and just get that easier playoff start. This match tonight is, really big for our standings. Getting the win will separate us away from Kanga and Mammoth, our direct competition for our playoff spot, and really just, get us in that front running seat we want.
That's right, and you need to be a must-needed win, as you said so yourself. Poltron, thanks for coming on. Good luck in the matchup ahead, and let's see how you go.
Thanks.
All right, Poltron there from Direwolves, and, he said it himself, Rusty, a very big matchup. Now, our level 1s are already starting off. Nobody, you already mentioned before this, Olaf, who invaded, in a bit of trouble. Sonic Wave connects as well, and Goodo does it even better, Big Bar, no! The failed flash over the wall, and immediately Direwolves are up on the board.
It turns out Goodo does, in fact, do it better, Hysterics. That was one of those plays. You see an invade from Gravitas. It's kind of obvious as well that the invade is happening. A lot of level 1 moves during the interview kind of gave that away. But Goodo takes the red from Gravitas' side of the map, immediately crosses through mid, doesn't care about anything that's going on in mid lane, walks straight past Dajung, and Kyose level 1 on the LeBlanc just rotates to help, because the players stop Olaf from full clearing the red side jungle, play for picks, play for kills. They start it from level 1. It is very, very successful because their bottom lane gets there and puts a big impact in first, right? The play from Shinky's there to stop nobody, simply flashing over the Drake pit and the play fizzling. More came out of that than perhaps should have, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. The level 1 Nautilus failing the flash hurts so much to watch, but hurts so much for the game. It's a 1k gold lead already, and our early games today, what has been with them? We've got a 1-0 Lee Sin, we've got a 1-0 Aphelios. The laning phase now just looks so hard for Thomas Shen and Vix to deal with.
Yeah, a lot of minions will crash here, so disregard the CSD for now. It's more the kill that goes with it, the free resets that can come across from Direwolves here also, so there's extra longswords, easy as you'd like for the Aphelios, for the Thresh. Overall, this laning phase, a flashless Nautilus is fine, to be honest, right? He still has Hex Flash, just as a quick check-in on those runes, something that's rarely seen, honestly, in LCO. Where Shinky has his Flash but doesn't have Ignite. So actually the 2v2, if they get a good reset off here for Gravitas, is okay. It's just what that means with item spike timings and priority can they move to help their junglers when plays like this continue to happen.
Yeah, and for Direwolves, the early game stem out to be a fun time from here on in. Rusty, let's come back to the comps though. Even though the early first blood, the early gold lead's already been achieved, I want you to talk to me a little bit more about how Direwolves pick comp operates. Because against Gravitas, when we talked about the Olaf being their main condition and how they transition the game, I feel like for Direwolves, already set up to succeed with early damage to help the pick start.
Yeah, Direwolves' composition relies, and we mentioned this during the draft a little bit, around vision, around objectives, right? You've got such strong pick with Thresh hooks, Lee Sin, and the LeBlanc in general, so double chain champions. We might have to hold this thought, though, because Vixpa's looking mid.
He also has distortion, though.
I don't know, Olaf as well.
Yeah, nobody hanging around, wasting a bit of time, and things come through, they spot him out.
Okay, so he's just going to disengage easy. I mean, they'll get a distort out of Kyose, and that's about it. So the composition will usually operate in, you want to get priority through one of your lanes. So, like, for example, Shinky and Frost are going to move now upriver. You then just look for a play with the LeBlanc and the Thresh on the same screen, or at level 6, a Lee Sin with a LeBlanc setup as well. The fact that you've got chains there to set up hooks, to set up Lee Sin queues makes it really simple. It also means that they excel at sieging because they have so much threat, right? Baron buff is crucial for a Direwolves comp.
As Red Line comes through, gonna have to pause you there. Thomas Shen gets the damage off, turns to Shinky, ignites down, but Vixpa getting the bad end of the trade. Shinky auto-attacking him to death. As the 4th shot comes through, it's Frost with a quick trade. The response being an ignite for an ignite.
I really feel like Frost takes that Lantern. That was really passive, actually, from Frost there. I mean, it's a content trade. That's a winning trade for them overall. They're happy with that one. They now have the Ignite gone from Vixpa, so no Summoner Spell advantages realistically exist for Gravitas. The wave is also bouncing towards them, but I mean, I think an LPL AD takes that Lantern and gets the kill there, right?
9 times out of 10, 9.5 times out of 10. Nobody in the bottom lane, though, and while we are talking about bot, I mean, he's been spotted out. They know nobody's here. His flash almost up and available. Gudo is going to shadow this one, Rusty, and as the Axe again spotted out, they have so much of an idea. Shinky even flashing in. Thomas Shen away with the cleanse flash, but the hook still connects. Deadly Flourish doesn't as nobody wants to get low so he can start hitting away, but he's out of range. He's flashed again, and Direwolves just play him like a fiddle.
Yeah, it's really well countered by the side of Direwolves. Full respect to them for that, but they were still a little bit apprehensive on how far forwards they wanted to go. So a winning trade, a winning situation, but no over exertions, you know, no needless risks. They just take the soft dub, they'll go for the objective afterwards, and they'll be happy with the situation. Top having a big crack here as well. I think it's the first time we've really checked in on top lane. Still pretty much just winning for Zoranus in a pretty comfy position overall.
Direwolves playing to what you and I talked about. And again, huge shout out to Rusty, who you helped me so much coming through with a lot of the individual conditions that these teams play towards. For example, you know, Direwolves are this mid playing team, or Gudo at least puts his attention between bot. But Zoranus is always left on an island, and here on the Graves, when Hullbreak is so strong, when Graves is in such a great position, it feels like Direwolves are just going to play the way they usually do.
Yeah, they tend to look their best in those situations as well. So it's really important that we see things like this start to ban out. It's not just a Janna top lane that's just crazy running at people. It's not a Vayne into a Sion.
You abused that in solo queue, though, to be fair. You did show me that before anyone in competitive started looking at it. So,
look, you got to learn the hard way, right? Someone's got to find out, why is this Janna at my red buff level 1?
Oh, flash away. Byron in a bit of trouble there. And yes, you don't get off the hook, Rusty. That was very filthy, so...
Never lost on it, I'll have you know.
How many times did you play it?
3.
Okay.
And never again. It was
good.
Retired at 100% win rate because it's dirty.
It's so funny because,
so
you know, I cast PCS recently and they've got a player there on a winning team, Deep Cross Gaming. Nesty's a mid laner who plays Bard Smite and goes top, and he, before the patch, of course.
Yeah.
And it was disgusting. It suited you greatly.
That's quite gross. I like it.
Yeah, I know you do.
But let's just be clear, I've retired that strategy. I think it's disgusting and I don't want to see it. So
until the next one.
We don't
the next one comes
contribute.
through. Nobody might have to crack the ultimate, though. Ultimate coming through. Unstoppable, yeah, but it's a bit late. Ignite takes him down, and nobody becomes no one once again.
Yeah, I feel like we're starting to see the makings of what we said could happen in draft, right? Nobody's going to be struggling. He's not being given a lot of support, but the early lead for Direwolves makes that worse. So there is a real-world situation. You get the Olaf, you get a couple of early kills or some early leads in farm. Item spike first. You get that first kill, you actually can reset nicely, right? Get Triumph. Maybe there's a Death's Dance build in there with your Gore Drinker, and you just heal for days, but I feel like that's already gone. And just one other thing quickly as well, Hysterics, because we didn't get a chance to talk about it. It is on our screen, is the mid matchup. So one of the reasons that Ahri is comfortable with LeBlanc is because the charm stops dashes. And LeBlanc's dash, if she's going to hit you with the distort, is a straight line.
Yeah.
So there's really no way that LeBlanc ever hits the W on you if you have charm ready. Like, you should just be, you'd expect the high skill Ahri to be easily able to counter that one. The way that it gets played instead then is the Distort usually doesn't go straight onto the Ari. You tend to get more creative with chain usage around minion waves. So that's where like you can start to outplay, but there's a lot more skill expression. I really like this matchup for that skill expression.
And it's a good thing we've been looking at it on camera. Again, we'll see a lot more now that they're past the ultimate mark and at the point with items strong. Speaking of lanes with their own kind of skill expression, Zoranus has been doing so well into this top lane. 20 CS lead already, and every time dodging away from the shock blast and getting beneficial trades to kind of worry about from Gravitas' side.
Yeah, I mean, this sets up nicely for the potential, right? It's not happening this time, but the threat of a Lee Sin LeBlanc rotation and dive. Always going to be on the cards if Tyron's stuck under turret with half health. Has Vamp Scepter, but it was also the early Fleet Footwork rune choice from Zoranus that makes a pretty large difference in those trades early for the 1v1. It's able to sustain while pushing at the same time.
Everfrost though comes in and a little bit of an electrocute trade, nobody getting spotted out. I love that Kyose runs straight back in, double distortion as well, in front of the jungler! That's clutch here from the Direwolves mid lane, and nobody once again just has to sit and listen. Sit down as the chain roots down, and Direwolves happy with the man that they have captaining as he's looking for it again. Nobody has to run away.
He's looking bottom here, though, as well. I mean, smashed out mid lane. Kyose is just a beast on this LeBlanc. It's one of their champions that... we were speaking about this before today, so just be careful if he gets this one. Yep. Actually can just pop off, go 20-0. Good as someone's herald the exact same time bot lane. So this is what happens when you've got just beasts, right, in your solo laners. You've got someone winning mid 1v2, means you can do whatever you want strategically. They'll play for the plates bottom. Breaking the bot lane out of turret is a fantastic choice here if they're able to stick this one out. We'll see it one more time. It is just the distortion usage. You know, the fact that he's got the cooldowns nailed, you know he's going for the flash auto attack. He's seeing it in his mind. Just too clean with it.
So cheeky. And you're right, like, you labeled this as skill matchup, and how it's played out is the most interesting part. Kyose obviously a level up here over Dajung in this game. CS lead, Everfrost already picked up. The laning phase looking scary now. Byron comes back to the mid lane, or at least makes his attempt to try and impact it. But Kyose is still a threat and looking comfortable as is.
Byron walked across vision to get to mid lane, just to look at mid lane and disengage back to top. So there's a little bit of agency there for Zoranus, who will see that happen, push the wave in immediately. That's a threat on a plate. That's bot lane knowing as well that the objective is going to be free and a plate stolen. Look at Kyose, even though he's been spotted. So much control over the map.
Just everywhere is looking good for Direwolves. What you talked about, top side Zoranus with the CS lead and the Hull Breaker with 2 longswords in his inventory. Now Gravitas are going to start this dragon, but Direwolves are very strong and they're converging in.
Dajun gets spotted as well, so there's going to be no charm to kick this one off.
Bridge line short, Rusty, Direwolves still moving forward, Chinky with the hook, it's not onto Thomas Sham, but Goodo's already done the damage as he cleanses the back line. Look at the AD of Gravitas, he wants that ball shot, he gets it up, but now has to run away. Kyose taking up the damage, but it's only a clone, a Sonic Wave to finish off, that curtain call meaning nothing, and Direwolves playing with their food. Chinky and Frost, you can see that they're trying to give the kill over. Who wants it? Kyose gets it and deserves it.
Kyose actually stands at the entrance to the wolf camp, presses S, and he's like, what's up? What's your next move? And you can see the cogs turning in Mixper's head. He's like, I've got actually nothing to do here. So there's that D-Cup, Dragon secured, kills secured as well. Direwolves now 7-0 in stark contrast to Gravitas. And would you believe it, the fight starts off with nobody just being one hit from the damage of Kyose.
Again.
You can see how quickly the damage comes across. It's just so easy, right? The combo connects. Not even a full combo, not even a max damage combo. He's just far enough ahead. Drake's in on it. Drake gets an auto attack off onto Dajung as well. There's a 5th man, 6th man even.
That's not fair.
And then watch this. Kyose just presses S.
Oh no. No. It's the emote flash.
Oh crap.
God. I mean, Direwolves just having that much control, and tonight's games have all been one-sided. Again, we're looking down the barrel of Gravitas getting wiped. 6,000 gold for Direwolves. And we were talking about it before with Poltron, that this is a much-needed win for Direwolves. Like, they need to get themselves bridged out from the Kanga, the mammoths of the league, and make sure that they get close to securing their playoff spot, because right now they are that little benchmark that defines who's getting into playoffs and who's not.
Yeah, this was meant to be the one game today, I feel like we would say, Hysterics, that shouldn't have been as one-sided, right? Like the last two games were a top-of-the-table team versus a bottom-of-the-table team, and you could have those expectations. This one, you're looking at a team fighting against a benchmark like you highlight. You want to see a bit more from Gravitas, but they've been measured since draft phase, to be frank. And I wasn't trying to be pessimistic, I was trying to be realistic, and I'm glad at least that realism came through, because we're seeing it unfold.
Hey man, this is why I remember even back in 2015 when you and I cast together, you were still being very realistic, you know, very intelligent about the game state and how nobody had to play this game. 0-3. You talked about the death this man would start achieving.
We said 10, didn't we?
We did say 10. So I'm not going to blame you if it doesn't go that high, but look, at the very least, it's been such a rough early game for him. And Gudo has been great, to say the least.
Yeah, Gudo's really clean with these Lee Sin Qs as well, hasn't he? I mean, you think back to that Drake fight, Darjung's just dancing, right? Just trying desperately to stop the one ability from hitting him. And the cool, calm, measured man that is Gudo. Zoranus takes the 1v2 here,
I would be scared. He does take the 1v2, you're exactly right. And Hullbreaker with a serrated Dirk, if he decides with that flash to go in, no summoner to stop them. Still heading forward. It is just going to be a back under turret, so Direwolf top laner in a great position despite not having done really that much except side lane against Tyron the whole game.
I think if Zoranus had ult there, he uses it to stop the bases. There's 100% on the cards, but nevertheless, Gravitas acknowledge that what's gone is gone, and they will recall and give away the turret. This blue buff feels like a sneak. That's how little control they have over the map. They want to get in here before the Direwolves do. And that was close already.
Right. Zoranus almost taking it away. Walks into Frost, and Darjun gets a face full of shurikens. Gudo here as well with the Herald. Note that at 16 minutes, gold's way too much for Gravitas to comprehend, but Dai will still have so many of resources available on the map. Camps to take. Gravitas holding onto this tier 1 for the time being. That won't be for long.
The issue I think you run into now when you are Gravitas is, you asked the question before on how does Direwolf's composition work, right, as a pick comp. Now they've got a lead. They have angles to threaten turrets. So bot and top outers are gone. This mid outer, if Gravitas choose to contest this, you'll have a LeBlanc and a Lee Sin on a flank each, and then you just get those, similar to the Peace game that we saw earlier today. So you actually just have to respect and give it up. It's too dangerous.
And ulti just burned. Ragnarok down. Nobody got caught out by a hook. And Direwolves take their free ultimate alongside with them. Next Dragon up in a minute. And we'll just be waiting for that one while Gravitas are looking to pick up more jungle camps to the left. And I don't know. It's just so one-sided today.
Welcome to the LCO, hey?
It's crazy. but Rusty, I mean, I've been watching LCO throughout this split. I don't think we've had back-to-back one-sided like this.
I don't think it's ever been this much. Yeah,
no.
Like this is the third game that has been. Like, the first two games you could look at and say at 5 minutes you were probably calling that one and just looking to put a bow on it, right?
Yep.
This game doesn't feel too dissimilar to them either.
No.
Very casual victory here, and it started with a lot of crazy level 1 plays and teams making plays. Ooh.
Again, no ulti, he burned it before, and Shinky knows that he was the one to force it out as Zoranus wants some of that cash money, collateral damage with his newly built Eclipse to secure down the kill. Nobody dead once again. Rusty, 6 more deaths to go.
And Thomas Shen also dying there also. I think it was a two-man affair. Might have been Lee Sin working with him. We'll see how this one happens. Just clean. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just smooth as butter, right? Like, Gudo gets it done. Lovely little flash kick montage moment. But that's all it comes down to, right? It's a cleanse from a Jhin. The Gale Force. The flash was ready, I will say. So there's a chance you can get yourself kicked away.
Just another reaction to come through here from Gudo. Side lane time, Direwolves' 4-man unit, even diving onto Tyrant. The hook, almost getting that max range. Shinky has been playing really, really well. 006, the agent in disguise, has been clean here for Direwolves coming in today. As they're going to be backing away. It looks like they won't get the turret for now. Good little dredge line from Vicksburg. Catches out Kyose unawares. It looks like a nice predict, but the distortion, unfortunately, the wrong time.
Listen, you deserve that death of Yukio, right? He was playing with his food. He was trying just to be cheeky with it. The rest of the team disengages. He could probably just go over the wall if he wanted where the rest of the team was, but having a bit of fun with it. Gets nicely predicted by Vixpa. Gravitas.
Can they get it? Yes, they can, Rusty. I guess yes, they can. And they're going to get the jungle on the way out as well, so objective bounty.
at least it was a shutdown, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly how much it was because it's been and gone, but that's an objective bounty and 2 shutdowns.
But you take that. As Gravitas, you
And now
absolutely
it's
take that.
only 10,000 gold.
Good. Actually, almost 9,000. So, hey, we're
You'd never
gaming now
believe
for Gravitas.
You'd never believe it. They brought it back to 9,000. This is so desperately one-sided, man.
Yeah. It's
We're going to have to come up with stuff to talk about in games like this. Just on the assumption that Game 4 is the same.
You and I have a lot to talk about, though, because the thing is, we don't cast together all the time. I mean, with Skimmy, you could talk about his accent, you know, and all the other things around from that. I'm still upset you're not doing an impression of his accent, 'cause to be honest, it is, like, I think one of the hardest accents to do. There's, as you said, there's a tri-flavor in it.
You just have to talk about the footy. Anytime I play games with Skimmy, we end up talking about Jonah Lomoon and just a bunch of other completely random Kiwi phrases and words. And it's just embedded in me. And I know that if I try and speak in his accent, it'll get a little bit on the nose because I'll just be quoting the weird stuff that he can say that I don't understand. That's all.
Maybe, yeah, I'll walk you away from it, don't worry, because I failed at it before. Baron being started, guys. Red and white means Frost says everything's all right. Direwolf's doing this under the guise of a control ward, making sure that vision's not spotting them out. Now they get it, but hey, Dajung's dead again. Kyose said not today as teleport comes through. Direwolf's pulling up the Baron. And Dyron almost died. I think that was the great work of the top laner of Direwolves. Kyose flashing for this one. Another quick pick. And Baron doesn't even need to be taken for this game to run further out of control.
That was a really unfortunate teleport from Tyron. I mean, the second you start channeling that, if someone's in range, they are just going to litter you with spells. But Zoranus had ult. So I was trying to wonder, oh, maybe he doesn't have ult. We're seeing what's happening bottom at the same time, though the ultimate was in fact just used. So.
Yep.
You know what? Tyron just does what he does.
Maybe just 3-item Graves that's threatening it up. Baron taken though.
That was and
look, after Gravitas got the small pick, it's now back to 12,000 at 22 minutes. So there we go. We're returning in a nice way. Direwolves, they need this win. Let's be realistic. A team that sits in such a dangerous position like this, it's a good sign. And I will say, like, having been on the outside of LCO, I think your top 5 are going to be the best in quite a while. LCO's been, would you say, like a 1 or 2 team league? Not to disrespect, but the strength of teams like Pentanet and Peace in the past have been a duopoly. As Zoranus is going to show us why Hullbreak is so big. Hold that thought, Rusty. I want an answer as nobody's running on in. Graves with Hullbreak are taking a lot of work to kill, but they finally do it.
I think there's been a couple of teams that have good potential, but yeah, since the inception of the LCO, it does feel like there was only really 2 big teams competing. In the past, there's been, you know, upwards of, there was a year, I think it was 2019, there was probably 6 teams, right? Like, one of the good teams was eliminated before playoffs even started in 2 splits back-to-back. But we've had a couple of years where it's been really exceptional for depth of talent, but yeah, last year was more of a 2-team league. Which does make sense, given that that was the Great Exodus year. We were developing a lot of new rosters, so it's refreshing to see, you know, more competitive teams come back from international and new rosters develop new talent, such as Kyose on the screen.
That's right, and you know, a healthy mix between not just teams, but talent coming back as well. Rogue, a great example we saw before coming back from the LFL.
You know, whole roster almost.
That's right, you know, Ray's doing the same thing. For Direwolves, you know, we've stopped casting this game because it's so one-sided. Direwolves are pushing down mid absolutely freely. Zoranus is 3.5-item Graves, and Kyose almost 3 himself. Shock Blast doing no damage, and Gravitas on their last legs as nobody's heading forward. They want something. Shinky misses the hook, the flash away, but the turnaround from Frost, the curtain call, has to now deal with the Graves. Zoranus running forward, and look at this Olaf. He can't 1v1 in a Aphelios. Frost gets a helping hand from Kyose. Maybe I was wrong, but Dial's still in the bag of pick. Sends back Thomas Shen, whose flash is being held up. Rusty, that should be enough for them to run it through mid.
You've got the teleport coming in as well, right, from Kyose, so it should be more than enough now. It should just be a Direwolves double.
And an absolute clean game. In under 25 minutes, Direwolves return to the stage and make sure that Gravitas are going to have a really hard time keeping up with the rest of the league.
And a big win for them overall, right? For the state of their own ladder. You heard it from their coaches. They've been practicing new things. They're trying strategies. They're just seeing if it works. But these wins, you know, standard comp, standard play, Easy victory overall, just good solid League of Legends. Shows what this team is really capable of come that playoffs time. And, you know, that's that one step further ahead and closer to being able to secure the playoff spot.
And from the get-go, right, Direwolves just with a huge gap. You know, I don't want to say hands stiff, but what we saw out of each individual player, I mean, Direwolves in every single lane were benefiting. Gravitas had no condition on the board. Even Zoranus, who got no jungle attention, wasn't talked about, wasn't looked at because of the action on the rest of the map. Still winning out the 1v1 against the Jace 20-30 CS up. I'm impressed because Rusty, as I'm sure we're going to bring back Mac very shortly, he gets slid in here like some kind of disco man. I love the shirt. I love the chest hair. And I love that you got to experience Direwolves with us because that was a really fun match just purely because Direwolves look great.
Viewer, I was going to say brother, and then like that was a pure, and it turned into viewer, and now I'm kind of lost. But what I was going to say is that was a Wednesday walloping if I'd ever seen one. Big plays coming out from the beginning. Direwolves all over it. Couple of kills there at level 1 and just making it so damn difficult for Gravitas to have any chance of making a game of this one. There was just nothing happening. And the fact that we got to see LeBlanc for Kiyose, look, it was already going to be a rough fight from Gravitas from the draft. Yeah. So, look, good to see him popping off. I think he did get caught out once, but everything else we saw from him, he was just like laying down the law, dishing out the damage. Any bloody series of words you could use, he was doing that. And the man was insane. Also, it was one-sided enough that I did get to chase my dog around outside in the rain, so hopefully I don't look too wet on camera. But that was a great time, and I really love rainy weather. But it was a great game as well. I got to see what mattered. Let's put it that way.
Right. Well, what did you go outside for again?
I had to let the dog out, and then she wouldn't come in. I had to chase around in the muddy puddles.
Right, I thought Pico was a boy.
No, Pico definitely is a female.
Oh, okay. Well, okay, now
Makes
I know.
the name even better, I'm not going to lie.
We can call it a bitch if it makes you feel better.
No.
That's the scientific terminology.
Yeah, I know, but as Rusty said, she is a good girl, so don't be...
She's the best girl. Don't sell her short, all right? Now, look, let's look at this. Gold grab's back, and you can see it was a slow and steady dub from about that sort of 7 or 8 minute mark. The gold started to shift in Direwolf's direction, and then, you know, when it rains, it bloody pours, doesn't it? So, the 14k, almost bloody 15k gold lead at the end, that's just a whole lot of damage. And in top lane, yeah, we saw a lot of damage from both parties, but I'm looking towards the bot lane of Gravitas. There was not a lot going on for them, was there, Rusty?
There was just, yeah, honestly, you're right. I think you've just summarized it nicely. There was not a lot going on, unfortunately. I mean, at the end of the day, Direwolves were just too clean from go to woe, and it did start, not even at 7 minutes, like you said. It was at like 2 minutes, right at the red buff. It was a complete shutout from that point, and that comes all the way back to draft, right? When we saw the Olaf, it didn't feel like it was a comp built around the Olaf, and if it falls behind against Elise in LeBlanc, it's just going to die off cooldown, and so the risk was not rewarded for Gravitas.
Yeah, it's that situation, right, where you need to take some risks sometimes. We saw that in a couple of earlier games tonight as well, where we saw Kanga really trying to start strong. Even yesterday, I think it was Direwolves going real gung-ho from the start and then getting punished as well. So it's good to see more proactivity coming through from all these teams that we've seen not have too much aggression in their play style. And someone that's always aggressive and I have to deal with it on a daily basis is Kitty. I don't know how, but she's just the most angry person I've ever met.
Hi guys, I'm back. I have meditated. I'm currently zen. As a famous philosopher once said, focus. And someone who I'm sure loves meditating is Zoranus. Wait, not Zoranus. Goodo, sorry. I'm focused, I swear, guys. So Goodo, what is the secret behind being so cracked at Lee Sin and drop that skincare routine?
It's like inspired from like YouTube. Like watching YouTube Lee Sin montage like actually hyped me. Yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah.
What region? What region are the Lee Sins from?
No, I mean like you can just search Lee Sin montage on YouTube. There will be like a lot, which is like Edwin Lair, like there was like Sally Billy. Yeah.
Sally Berry, well, that's an old name I haven't seen in a while. So drop that skincare routine, King. I need to know.
Drop this. What do you say? Sorry.
Oh, drop your skincare routine. So whatever you put on your face, because your skin is looking immaculate.
Oh. Oh, I didn't expect that. Actually, I do nothing, to be honest. It's like, I think it's just because of the cam. It's like all cam. It's all fake, guys. It's fake.
Well, everything is all natural coming from Guru, but let's talk about what just happened. So you guys have collected one more win, which we are getting closer to playoffs. So what is your ideal result for the regular season?
Obviously our goal is like making playoff, but like this is the probably just round 2 has been end. So we actually aiming for the top 3 as well, because like if we actually beat top 3, there's like upper bracket start, and we have like one more chance to like if we lose the best of the 5. So now we are in the good playoff situation, but we are just aiming for top 3. Yes.
You guys are looking as strong as ever. Well, I'm gonna send you off. Good night, Guru, and see you next week.
Thank you.
Gudo, not up with the lingo.
Oh, no.
He's like, what am I dropping? What did I drop?
These montages clear your skin. That's what I learned.
It's like talking to my grandpa. But look, yes, El Natural. And it was good to see, look, you guys over on the bloody right side of the screen there. What?
Nothing, mate.
Nothing.
By all means, go
You having
ahead.
a good time, Jake? That's what I want to know.
I be honest, you know, maybe I take it too seriously in the LPL as I come into this broadcast, and you know, we're having a good time. So yeah.
What do you mean? I'm only serious, and that's why we're going to be talking about the Dare MVP. And the man that won it was Kyosei, just darting around in the rim, smashing it everywhere. From the mid lane, Kitty, you're the only one not laughing. Please tell me why he won this.
Kyosei with that cracked 1v1 in the mid lane, you know, even in a losing matchup, Kyosei still manages to get a solo kill on the Ahri. Really impressive stuff coming from the young mid laner. I'm just eyes open for Kyosei in the split.
Very good. And look, he had so much damage done, like 24% as well. Like the LeBlanc, it's a glass cannon, and it is going to drop off late game, so it was good to see that Direwolves had such a solid lead throughout the early game and managed to just turn that into the big old dub. So 6-1-5 is not too damn bad. Rusty, talk to me. Anything else you want to notice here? You know, 9 wards placed. Is that enough for how short the game was?
I don't think there is a better LeBlanc on the server, is my takeaway from what I see from him, because it always happens in tournament games. He always makes a montage of his opponents. It's more than 1 year in a row now, so I feel like we can commit to and say that Kyosei is a terror when he gets the LeBlanc.
He certainly is. Now, you guys at home, you're not terrors, you're not terrible. You're actually pretty good with the content today for From the Fans. So let's see what you have sent in here, because I want to see if you've touched grass. And Hambo certainly has. He's touched rubber. He's burning it, in fact. Looks like man's gone sideways. Over in Japan, too. Okay.
That's cool. I mean, there's not much more to say. That's just sick.
That is sick. And the picture's actually pretty sick. I don't understand photography, but everything else is blurred but the car.
Rubbing in Speed Hunters. I'm guessing that's like a drift magazine or something cool, or maybe a website. But look, the car's not blurred, but everything else is. So, immaculate photography, and I'm sure you're going about 200 kilometers an hour around the corner. Seems very safe, Hambo, but I'm glad you're still here with us today. So maybe just, instead of going sideways, just keep it safe on the roads, all right? Let's just, you know, come back a couple of kilometers, and it'll all be all right? Now, Sarah Enders, again, no grass here. What do we got going on? Rusty, this looks like what you were wearing before.
Sarah posted as a follow-up to the image, so it's not here, but for context, she studied abroad in northern Japan, in Yamagata City in university, and this is her and a friend in a kimono.
Right, and they look absolutely stunning as well.
You know what I'm getting from this is everyone goes to Japan, and like it's gorgeous, so I can't blame anyone. But like the fondest memories that people all seem to have is of Japan.
Yeah, one of the best places.
I had to cancel my first ever trip to Japan because of you know, terrible things in the world. Oh, no. So didn't get to go, which was sad. But at the same time, you know, we're almost back. That bubble's, it's covered, I swear. I just want to leave the country for like a day, man. That's all I want. That's all I want.
It'd be nice.
Now, look, we're having a good lot of fun, but we got a 4th game to get to, and it's the one that a lot of people in chat have been waiting for. It's Chiefs, it's Order, and I'm hoping that you guys are going to hang around and have a watch of this one. So do not go too far. Go grab yourself a drink of water, order yourself some dinner on Menulog, and get ready for the final game of the day.
comes in and a bit of an electric trade. Nobody getting spotted out. I love that Kyose runs straight back in. Double distortion as well. In front of the juggler! That's clutch here from the Direwolves mid laner. Nobody once again just has to sit and listen.